Your question, if I recall, was if you want to do your Zone 2 training at home, what's the best type of device to do it on? I don't think there's a best device, but I would say it's one where it's very easy to reproducibly produce the same output. So I am hugely fond of a bicycle because it has a very clear metric that I can adjust, which is the wattage. Watts are super easy to track. I'm riding on a bike that is an ergometer. So I put my road bike on a device called a Wahoo Kicker, and it is hooked up to a computer where I'm telling it the numbers of watts that I want, and it's putting that resistance into me, and I generate it. Now, my wife, conversely, likes to ride a Peloton. I don't know why. I think it's the worst bike on the face of the earth. But on the Peloton, it works a little bit different, which is she goes into like a mode where she's not doing a class, but she basically sets the resistance with a little knob, and then the amount of RPMs that she can put to it spits out a wattage. But it's actually, in my mind, a little harder because she has to kind of control, like she has to be titrating her cadence to stay the same so that she can hit a wattage number. So it's the difference between being in erg mode and spin mode. But the point is, regardless of how you do it on a bike, wattage becomes the metric that matters. We, of course, are always measuring heart rate as well, and we'll talk about this in a second in terms of how you tweak it. Treadmills are also a great way to do this. In my experience, unless you are a really good runner, which is to say you're very efficient at running, for most people, running gets them out of Zone 2 a little too quickly. So for treadmill with our patients, we prefer brisk incline walking. Most treadmills will go up to 15 degrees, and we generally start people between 10 and 15 degrees, somewhere between 2.5 and 3 miles per hour, maybe less. And again, it's very empirical. It's sort of how quickly can you figure out where somebody is. By those two metrics, I have a very clear sense of my Zone 2. I know exactly how many watts my Zone 2 is. I also know what heart rate I should expect to see. And if I'm vastly outside of that, there's usually a physiologic reason, and I have to make an adjustment on the wattage. So if my heart rate is significantly higher than that, it might mean I'm a little bit sick, dehydrated, something else is going on, and I might have to back off to get the heart rate down, even if it means bringing the wattage a little bit below. And I'm checking my lactate every single time I do this, and I do it 4 times a week. We'll discuss frequency. Same thing on treadmill. I know on a treadmill exactly what incline, exactly what speed, and what heart rate, and it's a comparable heart rate too on the bike. That's an easy way to sort of make that happen. The other thing my wife loves is a rowing machine. Now, I'm not fond of the rowing machine for Zone 2. I like the rowing machine for Zone 5, but that's because I'm not a very good rower. So again, my wife's a better rower than me, and she has better form than me. Someone like Beth Lewis, who we've had on the podcast, who's an amazing rower, she's more efficient. She can get a Zone 2 workout on the rowing machine. I love rowing, but it's just cycling for me is second nature. Cycling is a very efficient thing for me to do. I'm not hugely fond of ellipticals personally, but again, if you have one that works for you, where you're able to get your heart rate high enough and you're able to move quick enough, then great. The key is how much energy do you have to put into maintaining a sustained dose? And that's the biggest challenge, Bob, with Zone 2, is you don't want it to be vacillating. And that's why ultimately I love being on an erg mode of a bike, which is I don't actually have to think about it. It's putting 200 watts to my wheel no matter what I do. Even if I slow down or speed up, it's just always keeping the watts the same. Frankly, I can just tune out and listen to podcasts and audiobooks, which is what Zone 2 is for in my book.